I got here, I moved to New Mexico, and then every night, especially in the first few months, I would just sit outside because you have such beautiful skies. And if y'all follow me on Instagram and on Facebook and stuff, I'm always sharing, night sky pictures because we have such a beautiful view of the sky and the stars. So I'm always looking out, and I have apps that show me, because, in the beginning we would see satellites and we would think they were like, oh my God, that's like, it's just a satellite and it's catching the light in a certain way, and it gets brighter and it dims. And so we would use the apps, and we would like do all this thing with the apps. And so, we've gotten pretty good at figuring out what's in the sky and what's not in the sky. And I can tell you what planet's what now because I've gotten so used to seeing them. But several months after we had moved here, we were outside. I think that night I had a few drinks because we were drinking a little bit, and I had a few drinks. But it's not like I was drunk and I was like slurring or stuff. I was still very much aware. But you start getting a little bit like relaxed, and you start getting a teeny bit tipsy. Not too much, but a teeny bit tipsy. And so we were out there talking or whatever, and then we heard a plane going by, and then we saw another plane going by, and as it flew over, there was two jets. So there was two jets going by, and actually we'll show y'all the picture. So there was two planes going by, and as the two planes are going by, right behind the first one, like it was so close, I was like, what is that? And right behind it, there was this triangular shaped craft. And I knew that the two jets or the two planes were planes because they had their like call signs or their call beacons, those like, lights that kind of blink off and on. So I knew that they were planes because they had the red and the green on each side. And they seemed like they were the size of like a private jet or a private plane. It didn't feel like a military jet. It just felt like a private jet. And they were smaller, and they were close enough to us. They weren't like way up in the air. They were like pretty close. So they were flying. And then in the middle, closer to the first one, was that triangular shaped craft. And it had these lights. Only lights. It didn't have any call signs. It didn't have any red or green. It just had these very dim orangey lights. And it was as if they were like because it was so close to the first one, I was like, is it like tugging it or is it? And I thought to myself, because, in Houston, we have those planes with the signs that they fly, and they carry. So it reminded me of that. And I'm like, is it carrying like a sign or something? Because I thought maybe that's what it was. But they were just very synced up. And it was just, it didn't seem like it had any engines. It just had that triangle. And I was like, okay. And Ed was like, did you see that? And I was like, yeah, I did. And it felt like they were either transporting it somewhere or they were escorting it somewhere. It's kind of the vibe that I got from just seeing that. And it was at the time of day where it was dark enough that it was like right past twilight. So it wasn't night, but it wasn't light. It was kind of like there. So if you weren't looking, you were probably going to miss the triangle craft because the two planes you could see very well, but the triangle craft was just like, and I even got mad at myself. So I was like, God damn it. I wish I wasn't drinking because I wish I could see more clearly, or I wish I could make that out more clearly. But I was still a little tipsy. I was like, okay. So afterwards, I remembered that and I was like, well, that's just weird. And I talked about it with Ed afterwards, and like, he forgot completely, like, he says he doesn't remember seeing that triangle at all. He says, I remember the two planes. I don't remember the triangle. And I was like, come on. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was right there. Like, it was right there. And he was like, I don't remember that. And I was like, babe, you said, like, did you see that? So I assumed you were seeing the same thing I was seeing, which was the two planes in the triangle. Yeah. And he was like, no, I think that, I think you're the only one that saw that if you saw it. And I was like, so I thought I was going crazy. So I was like, okay. The last experience I had, because I was like, what? Like, I asked for experiences, right? And I totally got it, was 2 nights ago. Yeah. I don't know if y'all were watching the live that I did with Shannon, where we were doing, he was doing channeling. And I had asked about some experience that I had when I did a regression. And during the course of the channeling, Shannon was apparently channeling this higher being who he called himself Samuel, which is funny because that day I had 2 other interactions with the name Samuel. I had someone book an appointment that day named Samuel. And then I also had some other thing pop up somewhere that was a Sam or Samuel. I was like, okay. I was like, it's not a name that I deal with a lot. So I was like, okay. But what he said was that I was going to begin to see things that are not easily seen, and that and he specifically said UFOs and aliens, like they're there in the sky. We can't see them because they are cloaked, or they're using a type of technology that kind of phases them out of, shifts them out of phase. And so we can't see them. And I believe that, because I believe that's why most people can't see them, because they use a technology that they can't be seen. But some people might be able to see them because their ability to sense vibrations and frequencies may be so sensitive that they might be able to tell, So Ed and I said, okay. And so I was like, yeah, it's whatever. It's okay. If I start seeing things, great, so be it. But I'm like, I'm not expecting a whole lot, And that was the channeling session earlier that day. Fast forward to the evening time. Ed and I were outside again. Same exact experience. We were sitting down. It was night. We were looking up at the stars, the sky. I had vaped just a teeny bit, like just a little bit. So I was relaxed, but it wasn't like I was like, all stupid, but we were talking or whatever. Yeah. And we heard a plane, and we'd already seen a few planes going by, commercial jets, but we saw a plane coming by. And as the plane came by, there was a craft in front of it, just like the first time we saw it. And then there was a smaller jet, like a private jet behind it, like it was escorting it. Same direction, same thing. And where I am at, we're not that far away from the Four Corners, which apparently there's like a base underneath the Four Corners area, and there is an installation there. But the craft came by, and this time Ed was like, did you see that? And I was like, yeah, I saw that. And I immediately had my phone. I was like, oh, I'm going to capture this crap. And so I pulled out my phone and I started recording. It's so dark, you cannot even see any other craft besides the main, the private jet. The private plane, you can see the lights, you can see the call lights blinking, and you can hear Ed and I talking to each other. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, what is that? I'm like, do you see that? Do you see the other one? Because I wanted to make sure he saw that one. He's like, yeah, I see it. Right. I see it. This time, this one was not a triangle shape. And honestly, I could not make out the shape. I still don't know what the shape was, but it didn't feel like a triangle, and it didn't feel like a standard plane shape. But the lights underneath it were weird. And there were like like 5 or 6 lights in like a circular pattern with like the center. So, which is like this, it's like this. And I'll show you all the picture. So it's the second picture down where you see those green lights. So it's almost like the lights are shaped like I don't know if it's an octagon or what it would be called. And the other plane was like literally right behind it, not too far behind it. And it was as if it was escorting. They were going at the exact same speed, and they were just kind of going in the same direction, and it was escorting it in that direction. And so he saw it, I saw it, I recorded a video of it. Y'all want to see the video? It's black. Yeah, you can't see anything. Yeah, you can't see anything in the video. But maybe you can hear us. And I see. What is that? You see it? It's got like 4 or 5 lights underneath it. No, that the one on front. Yeah. Why does it look like that? Why is it so?
I think it's a plane that just doesn't have the blinking lights on like the one.
It doesn't have, but it's a weird look. It's like it's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 lights underneath it.
That's why you needed the binoculars.
Yeah.
It seems to be going fast too. It moves weird.
It's just weird. I'm only hearing like one sound or one engine.
Well, they're so close. It probably sounds like one.
Right. But that's weird.
I don't know what that is.
See, so there you go. So, yeah. So that happened like 2 nights ago, and we saw it. I couldn't capture it. I took my video. So I got the video, guys. If y'all know how to invert, because I tried inverting the colors and I tried to invert the film and see if I can lighten it up or to mess with it to see if I can get something to show up. The only thing that I can get to show up is the scenery. Like we can see the hills and the mountains here, and you can see more of the blinking light from the main like private jet. You can't see the other thing. There's like literally nothing there. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to like see, I want to see this so clearly, and I don't know what shape it was. And Ed said he couldn't make out the shape either, but the way that the lights were shaped made it seem like it was a circle or an octagon, but we don't know. And I only felt like I heard one engine, and you could hear the engines there. If you have 2 planes and 2 engines, you can hear it in kind of the way that it bounces off the atmosphere. But I thought I only heard one engine, but it was just really weird and it was just like going along with it as well.
So you feel like, then these planes are like escorting around these unidentified crafts.
Mm-hmm.
to somewhere
in the direction
here.
of the Four Corners, which is where the base is at, the base, because there is a base there, but it's a military installation, but there's also supposedly an underground base, and that's the one that, you know, if like people hear about, like the Colorado, if they go to Denver and they see those visuals and there's aliens there, etc. So all of that kind of supposedly is tied in. If I wanted to think about it from like a practical, realistic approach, I would say it's probably an experimental plane and they're escorting it from one location to another. And that may be what it is.
Yeah.
If I were going to say it's, you know, being practical, but just the shape and the
Yeah.
colors. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know what to think about that.
I mean, it could really be anything. And our government is so dishonest with us about these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we wouldn't know what they're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but
So, yeah. So
I